Hey guys, Dib the Awesome here to give you a team race guide slash review on the Grand Prix team race. Now, it took a long time for me to say Prix right because I kept saying like not Prix. So, but yeah, in terms of off recording and just streams in general, like I finally got the world down. I finally got the word down. There we go. Today we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna review this new kind of race. This is a brand spanking new kind of race. And I will say just before this video begins, everyone wins. Every single person wins in this race, on the condition your team is actually just active. What do I mean by that? You know how in races where only one team gets the big new monster that's pretty much meta? Well, everyone can pretty much have the opportunity here to get the big new meta monster. uh, which is fatted here. This is the big race monster. And if your team completes 10 laps, they get fatted. Now, as you can see here, based on your laps, the number of laps that your team does. See, it doesn't even matter if you're in, like, let's say dead last. It really doesn't matter, because as long as you do 25 laps, you get the rank 3 fatted, for example. If you do 10 laps throughout the entire event, you get fatted. 50 laps, you get rank 4. Even if the top team does way more laps than you, it doesn't matter. It does not matter. It matters none, because you will whatever your laps are. Is the reward you get at the end. So you can't blame, but I didn't get fatted because so and so got first and our team didn't. No, it doesn't matter what your place is in terms of the race. All that matters is the number of laps that you do. So participation is a must in this race in particular, because a rank 4 monster is on the table. The last time we've had a huge rank monster like race event was Igursus, and Igursus is used all the time, and that was offered at rank 5. Now, this is more laps than the rank 5 Agursis, but, obviously at rank 4 is a good peak too. It just is. A rank 4 monster is really, really strong. It's almost to the fully ranked, so that stayed in mind. It's going to be a very popular monster at the moment. Fatted will be. So we're gonna go over how do you do races. So the main mechanic of races, essentially, if we go over to Grand Prix, this is the quest tab. You see the quest tab here, and you see this team, right here is the current, my team. So it shows your position on the map here. You need to complete nodes to pretty much essentially move your little flag here all the way to the finish line, so you can make complete a lap. And the only way to move your little guy and complete these nodes are by finishing these sets of quests, and each quest set is a set of threes. So right now there is a first member to which it's called One for All. A specific not like a specific person on your team, but just like one person, like just one member on your team. Doesn't mean like, oh, Dib the Awesome specifically has to do this. It doesn't mean Armor Gaming specifically has to do this. No, the first member, the first person to get the quest done gets the quest done. Which, that's self-explanatory. But basically it means the first person that does this gets the quest done, and they get the points for said quests. Now, points are for individual rewards. So this is the individual rewards that you get based on your placement. So we won't go really in depth in that, but that's how that works. But anyway, your main objective here as a team is essentially just to get these quests done. There's also do your parts, where multiple members on a team have to hatch a egg. There's a joint efforts, where your team has to do a specific task together. There is one where you have to breed a bunch of rares. There's one where you have to do a bunch of PvPs, and those ones are really hard. Or at least they're not really hard depending on what you're fighting at the moment in terms of PvP. But essentially, when you get to legendary, that they start become really difficult. Uh, Here's some good advice, real quick. I highly recommend. This is what I recommend you do. I just got done with. No, I already have it set up here. I recommend setting all your defense to a common defense to lower your ranking because during this time, in all honesty, you only need to be in legendary when the season ends. You don't need to be in legendary uh, when it's not ending. Well, let's see, there's like 3 days left. I could easily get back to legendary in the span of just that single day in the last few hours. You don't. That means you can try and get easier opponents. In terms of what's more important, getting in ranking or helping your team out, I'd say helping your team out's really important. And again, you can just get your placement back. It's not too hard to get back into whatever you were in before, in my personal opinion. You want to win as much fights as possible and save as much gems as possible for when you do PvP. Don't just straight up gem PvP. You can see the option on the right here where you could help or quicken or complete the node, and that's just you spending gems to just skip it entirely. In terms of PvP, you don't need to skip the thing entirely. Just do the PvP fights. And when if you're out of PvP fights, just restock on them. It's 5 gems a pop, much more cheaper than just straight up buying the node out. You don't want to do that. You want to save as much gems as possible. Personally, I think a lot of teams should, or like I said, a lot of teammates should start doing this. Save your gems. Save like 200 gems at the very least for team races. It's doable. Especially if you save a level 10 rune in your pocket and do the Rune Lords event. It's very doable. I saved my 10 specifically for Rune Lords so I can get the 25 gems out of it. As you can see here, I'm in the clear for that. In about like a minute and 50 seconds, I shall have that, and that will be done. But yeah, just save your PvP. Also, a new thing added to the game are daily goals, and you can save. You can actually get PvP points for free by just doing the daily quests. I recommend just saving your free your attack points. You can actually stock these up. If you know there's going to be a future race coming up, they actually take your free PvPs at the end of a season, from what I've noticed. So, it doesn't really do you any good to save them near the end of a season, but if you know that there's going to be a race coming up and the season's just kind of starting, I recommend using your PvPs for that. For team races, so it saves you gems. It's just a good use of the daily reward, in my personal opinion. That's what I recommend doing for PvP. So I talked about joint efforts. Oh, I forgot one more thing too. I did say that you should save what specifically are you saving those 200 gems for a dip? The specific thing you want to save those 200 gems is you want to be able to skip the epic breeding nodes, like the ones that where a specific person needs to breed a certain number of epic monsters. You use those to skip those nodes. I don't think you really use them for anything else during the team race. But if each individual person would skip a node, an epic breeding node, from what I've been told, you can actually get 30 laps done straight up the bat if everyone were to contribute 200 gems or less toward that goal. And good ways to save gems. You don't necessarily have to spend well over 200 gems. Like a little bit under two. Like you can pay less than 200. If everyone were again, one of the strongest things about team races is communication is the key. So have a epic breeding ready here. Mine's almost done after several attempts this whole day. I'm finally getting another epic monster. So when someone has to do epic breeding skip, I have a monster to make it cheaper for them. Making it cheaper for someone is nice, and it's called collaboration. It helps people, help your teammates, my boys. Uh, it's very vital in these races. Yeah, actually have to have uh, to be able to communicate with your team. You need that ability. So I highly recommend you getting in the habit of talking to the people you decided to guild with. It's just something you should do. Another kind of quest that you kind of need to be prepared for is the ranking and the uh, breeding. I already said breeding, but yeah, the ranking stuff. There are quests where you have to rank up rares, and now there are new ones where you have to rank up epics and legendary. So you really need to talk with your team. Right now, I have the epic chilling in here when the note comes up where it needs two people to rank up a epic monster. I'll be prepared for that, and I'll put as soon as that comes out, I'll speed it up if I have to get it out of the old oven and get that node done. But for the most part, you're using this for rares and like uncommons and commons, and it's really easy. Just prepare for it beforehand, and you'll have plenty of cells to cycle through on and off. I think each time you do it, you lose about 10 cells, but it's all right in terms of just like the that specific monster. I actually stocked up a lot on green soar. It's really easy to do. All you have to do is extract like the pandakin or the green soar or the common monster at level one, and it only takes like 3 or 4 seconds. Uh, Same deal with ranking. Just keep the uncommon, the common, or rare at level one, so the ranking up doesn't take a whole lot. You basically just use the tutorial uh, monsters they give you and the tutorial breeding monsters for those specific quests to get those done. And they're really recyc. The trick is really recyclable from what I just told you. Again, you just take it at level one, uh, rank it up, extract it, and I think like on extraction you get 110 cells, and the uh, ranking each time you rank up a monster to rank one, that's 120 cells. So I think you lose about 10 cells each time you do it. So as long as you've extracted a few, you're fine. You don't need to worry about it. But do keep track of that. You don't want to accidentally spend elementium. That's not a good thing. Don't do that. So just keep track of that and just be prepared beforehand for races, so you don't have to deal with the struggles as much or like any unwanted accidents. So we're going to talk about rewards now. I've pretty much gone over how the sitch goes. This is a real, in all honesty, this is one of the most boring but most beneficial events you will ever do in Monster Legends. A lot of people stopped playing the game because of these events, uh, but a lot of these events just kind of make the meta, and they're beneficial if you do well in them. Uh, they've also kind of changed the. I already talked about this, like the position rewards here. Now, in terms of lap rewards, you get the monster, of course, but in terms of positions, the elementium and you get different elementium and or rewards based on your placements. Like if you place four and under, you actually get a ranked up Soapy Sam. I actually like this. I actually like a ranked up epic monster. I wouldn't mind being for my team to be fourth and sixth in terms of placement. Uh, I'm not saying that I want them to at this point, but I'm just saying I wouldn't mind it if that's a pretty neat reward. It's pretty neat to have a ranked up monster. That's not bad. Now, obviously, the Elementium is more valuable though. Yeah, especially the type specific is really nice. Uh, But a ranked up monster isn't bad either. Words. So we talked about the quest. We talked about position rewards. We talked about individual rewards. Now we're going to talk about the lap rewards. Oh, also real quick, in terms of individual rewards, the individual rewards are never really that interesting because it's usually just pocket sales, and the top three players get like silver relics. I think that's really neat, but they're not a whole lot. But from my personal opinion, that's fine. So upon reaching 4 laps, I feel like people can get over 4 laps. But if you get 4 laps, you get a soap Sam, and keep in mind if you get lower than like if you're 4 and lower in terms of placements, you're also getting a soap Sam. So you could possibly walk away with a rank 1 or 2 just straight off the bat. If you didn't do that, if you just got 4 laps, then you could just walk away with a rank 1 monster, possibly. I do believe. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what that entails too, and almost a rank 2 soap Sam if you get fourth to sixth place. Which I imagine though at that point you actually get over 4 laps, and so you won't be able to get the ranked up. But I think either or, whatever, regardless of the situation, if you do just wind up only getting 4 laps in, uh, you get a +1 soap Sam, and I think that's neato. Though the monster itself is garbage. Competitively speaking, Soap Sand isn't exactly highly competitive. It's just a really cool designed monster based on the popular Nickelodeon character SpongeBob. And I just think it's cool because of that. I think it's a really cool concept slash monster. It's just neato. In terms of competitive use, though, it's just garbage. It's just a cool looking monster. For 8 laps in, if you only get 8 laps, don't feel down because this is your boy Salotus. This is a really, really, really good nature monster in the nature category, able to stamina drain, able to possess, and quite possibly one of the few usable nature counters in terms against Fatted. But just in terms of his stamina draining aspect, this guy really, really excels at being able to drain a single person completely and then regain his own stamina. In terms of a basic move, he also has an AoE for his ultimate that drains all the stamina and everyone else gets their stamina back. Uh, I'll explain why Fatted isn't that's not a good idea to possess Fatted in the slightest in a bit, but for the most part, in terms of non-Fatted related concepts, Silotus is really, really great. It's an awesome monster. I love using Silotus in war. It's very versatile. He's very, very, very good at giving stamina back to his teammates. He has an extra turn stamina skill that costs 0 stamina. Very, very useful. It's a very versatile monster. I love using this thing. Really, really great monster. If you don't wind up doing more than 8 laps and you only get Silotus, that's cool. It is a really great monster. I do enjoy using the monster personally, and I feel like you would too. But obviously, though, if you can go well and beyond, 25 laps or for sure 50 or whatever have you for your team, uh, the rewards are really, really good because you will get a ranked up monster based on how well you do. So this is fatted, pretty much that's self-explanatory. 10 is unranked, 12 is rank 1, 18 is rank 2, and 25 is rank 3. And if you do manage to hit that huge milestone of 50, you get a rank 4 of Fatted. This is the newest monster to hit Monster Legends, the new kid on the block. And I gotta say, Fatted is amazing. He is the nature Undertaker. Now, if you don't know what Undertaker is a dark monster capable of reviving someone, I do believe at 50%. I don't think it was a full life revival, but he's able to bring somebody back from the dead. And he's considered one of the best supports in the game simply for that reason. Obviously, Samuel surpasses them every way, shape, and form, but he like it's one of the top supports in the game. Like Undertaker, while only having one really supportive skill, that there's no other support skills he really has beyond maybe like an AoE, like besides the AoE debuff, and that's really it. He's considered one of the best supports in the game. He's a tanky support. And this is the nature's Undertaker. Except there are a few cool things about him. Originally, he was planned to be like a really slow monster capable of possession, but they reamped it. They changed him into again an Undertaker, and they did a few neat things about him. They gave him two revival skills. One's an AOE revival. And one's a single target revival. However, the catch is they get buffed depending on which one you do. It's either double damage for the AOE revival, or if you do the single target buff, the revival, you get a triple damage buff. But the hugest catch is that there's two huge catches. One, the buffs is amazing. The second is the monsters die actually, depending on which one you use. They're put on a death counter. Now, if you don't know what death counter is, it basically means like after a certain number of turns they die. So if you use the AOE revival skill, they actually die on that turn. And the single target revival is actually 2 turns. So the revival one's the single target's more forgiving, but if your whole team's just dead, you can use the AoE revival to bring everyone back. Now, a lot of people would see this as a really pointless thing. It was like, Dib, why would you want to run something where, like, if you don't actually win that turn, the monsters die? Well, you can run things that can clean and either clean the insta death or are immune to insta death to begin with, like Demise. Things that are immune to insta death only get the benefit at that point. They basically just get revived. So things that have immune to insta death just went up in value because they combo well with Fatted. It doesn't really matter because you could just bring those targets back. Again, you don't really want to be sponged and deny, but again, it's just a really great combination that it works well with things like are immune to insta death. And or can just clean the debuff like Ukaduma. If you run like something like Ukaduma and you single target revive him, use the triple damage to your advantage, kill a single person, because again you have triple damage at this point, and Ukaduma has really good base stats, really good single target. In terms of single target damage, he has a 65 damage skill. You can use that to kill maybe like the Denier or something, and then clean himself immediately next turn. Just like, you can just bring back a cleaner. If they have a really strong single target damage skill, they could probably kill the enemy denier or the damage dealer, and then they can clean themselves next turn. Or you could run a denier that cleans anyway, like Cassandri or Dungeon Master. And light monsters, various light monsters, dark monsters, what have you. Anything that really cleans, that can clean off the bad thing. All you really do is get the benefit at that point, and you just get revived too. Whenever you do get revived, I do believe you get full stamina back. The single target revival, I do believe the percentage of life is different though. The AoE double damage revival only gives you 50% back, and the single target revival gives you all your life back, and triple damage. But yeah, those are really good. Obviously, you want to use the single one first before thinking about using the AoE. I guess it depends on your situation, but for the most part, it's really good. There's also one more thing he is capable of doing, and he's actually capable of eating someone. What do I mean by eating someone? Okay, so he has a skill called Traitor Eater, which basically means he just straight up kills someone, and he gets a extra turn and 100% of his stamina back. Now, this seems really, really pointless at first. It's like, Dib, why do you want to revive? Not revive. Why do you want to bring someone to the fight where you're on a skill where he just straight up kills someone? That doesn't make any sense. But when you take the time to think about it, it actually combos with the rest of his kit. For you see, whenever you can only revive someone when they're dead. So you can't use this utility until you're dead, and you can force. Use this utility. You can force it. So it basically means he can use it offensively. He can eat someone and then spit them out, make them better. Essentially, that's the logic behind that. And another reason is if you are planning on running Traitor Eater, if someone were to possess Fatted, if you don't know how possession works, possession is treated as whoever has the monster possessed. Like if it's your monster possessed, it's now treated as the enemy's Fatted. So if an enemy possesses Fatted and Fatted uses Traitor Eater, he's actually not going to eat your monster. He'll actually eat one of your enemy's monsters because the enemy is now his ally. So he'll eat one of his enemies. That was a really funny explanation and really complicated, but just in a short sense, if someone takes your Fatted, he will eat one of their monsters. He will actually help you, even though he's currently possessed. That's the logic behind that of what I'm saying. Though this kind of play is kind of counterdicted by other Fatteds. If the enemy is also running a Fatted and Fatted doesn't eat the enemy Fatted first, there are problems to that, obviously. Because if then because the enemy Fatted can just bring back the person he just ate. So you kind of want your Fatted. You kind of hope that your Fatted eats the enemy Fatted, essentially. Beyond just the resurrection aspect, besides that, what else does this man really have? He has DOT potential. He's actually really great at applying DOTs. He has a poison and bleed DOT on an AoE scaling and on single target base, but you will mostly use the AoE skill. Really, really, really awesome. Beyond the DOT aspect, he's a tank, so if he has really great DOT skills, he has to have really good stalling potential, right? Absolutely. He has a extra turn, double healing, and regen skill. And I will say this is the first monster of all the monsters in Monster Legends that can really take advantage of double healing, because he also has a pretty much like a self skill that gives him 40% life back, plus it's an AoE poison on the enemy team. This is really, really good when you combine that with the extra turn skill, because basically he gets a full life reset. It basically gives him a full life reset just straight up the bat. So he's really, really, really great at stalling. He's just especially good at just being a sponge. He's really great at sponging damage. It's ironic because one of the rewards is an actual sponge. So for him being able to outsponge the sponge, that's funny. That's really funny. But there is one more thing funnier than that, and I have to say, it's because he has a move called Fart Machine. I am not joking. This man actually has a skill called Fart Machine, and it's one of the best named moves I have ever seen in Monster Legends. It's awesome. It's an awesome name. And interestingly enough, it is I think it's like the first status effect skill that's on an AoE basis that costs no stamina and no cooldown. That's right, you can spam that for eternity. I mean, you can spam it for eternity. It's a 0 turn cooldown, 0 stamina cost, AoE poison that doesn't really do any damage. Like initial damage, I mean, but it poisons everyone, so they take 10% per turn. It's just it's just a funny move. I'm just bringing it up because it's a funny name, and it's oddly enough there is a competitive use for it, though it's greatly overshadowed by everything else that he has to offer. It's just a funny name, and oddly enough, it can actually be used to a competitive, just to a certain extent, not over the top, mind blowing like all of his other moves. But it's just interesting. I just find it interesting. It's a funny move with an interesting idea. But yeah, this is an extremely good monster. Extremely, extremely good. You will see this in competitive play, especially at rank 4. People will just strive to get this boy at rank 4. And you will see him. You'll see him a lot at rank 4. It's going to be disgusting. It's going to be really, really strong. So overall, I really like this event. I feel like everyone wins. Everyone's going to have the meta monster. At rank, it totally depends on them. It depends on how well your team communicates and get laps done. As long as everyone pitches in, you should be able to, for sure, do 30. This straight up 30. If you go all the way, you could get 50 done for sure. 25. I feel like 25 is doable. Like 50 if you go the extra mile, it is worth it. If you do honestly work together with your teammates and you reach 50, you are going to get a really, really awesome monster at +4. I think this is a very, very, very awesome event, and it's totally dependent on, the things you get is actually dependent on how well you work with your team, how long you stay on for doing quests, what have you. So best of luck to you. I'm Dib the Awesome, and I'll catch you guys later.